despite your efforts at the time to appear emotional and sad and distraught, it's clear to me that you're a remorseless killer.
It's always satisfying to watch a corrupt officer get exposed in court for the misconduct they tried to cover up. Today, we'll go through some of the most shocking courtroom moments where these officers were completely dismantled.
When you're at the Border Patrol checkpoint, your duties are to enforce immigration laws and look for terrorists and look for weapons of mass destruction and assist in detecting narcotics. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you do this, of course, you're following a procedure manual that tells you what to do?
Following policy, sir.
Written policy?
Yes, sir.
You have a copy of the written policy?
No, I do not, sir.
Have you ever seen a copy of that written policy?
That states our authority to conduct immigration checks, or for the checkpoint itself, sir?
For that checkpoint.
No, I have not, sir.
Are you aware of any written guidelines or policies or procedures on how to run that checkpoint?
I am aware that they're out there, sir.
You're aware that they're out there?
The agent had illegally detained a U.S. citizen at the border checkpoint without any legal cause. The attorney didn't take long to ask him crucial questions about his job, and the officer started to have serious trouble with the question.
To get this straight, you're testifying right now that you are aware that there are written guidelines and procedures for this checkpoint?
Can you state that question again, sir?
Is it your testimony here and now that there are written guidelines and procedures for this checkpoint?
To my knowledge, yes, sir.
Have you seen them?
No, I have not, sir.
But to your knowledge, they exist.
Yes, sir.
The officer's story fell apart when the attorney exposed his hypocrisy in front of the entire courtroom. He was about to play a call recording where, shockingly, the officer made a completely different claim.
Do you recall on June 1st of this year giving a telephonic statement to Mr. Victor?
I do not recall the exact date, but yes, I do recall a telephonic interview, sir.
Do you recall you were in a room with Mr. Katz?
Yes, sir.
I believe there was another attorney in the room who was a representative of the Border Patrol Union?
Yes, sir.
And you're on the telephone to Mr. Victor?
Yes, sir.
And you're aware that that tape recording was being recorded?
Yes, sir.
And were you trying to tell the truth at that time?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember being asked during that statement if you were aware of any written guidelines, policies, and procedures for this checkpoint?
Do I remember that specific question, sir?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Do you remember saying that you were not aware of any written guidelines, policies, or procedures?
No, sir.
Would it help to refresh your memory if you heard a tape playing of your voice?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, if I may.
If you want to use that one, it's fine.
It starts right at the beginning of that.
This one needs to.
However, just as the attorney was about to play the recording that would have exposed the officer, the state's attorney started questioning whether it should be allowed.
This is your voice, and if you remember being asked this question and given this answer.
And, Your Honor, the state's going to object at this point. Was this noticed as part of your trial exhibit and disclosure?
Actually, Judge, this doesn't need to be noticed because it's impeachment, which is exactly how we're using it right now.
Your Honor, the same standard would apply to both parties. The state would expect that everything that be given in notice to both parties.
Judge, the law's well settled in Arizona. If the defense had to give impeachment to the state of the state's witnesses before the state's witnesses testified, it wouldn't be much of impeachment, would it? We're simply disclosing the audio tape of the interview that the state's witness, where the state's counsel was present throughout the entire interview.
Your Honor,
I have no understanding what possibly could be the objection to this.
Your Honor, may I have a moment? Your Honor, Mr. Mr. Victor's quite correct. Under Rule 613B, the state withdraws its objection.
Once again, the state's attorney's objection was withdrawn quickly, asserting that the defense was within its rights to play the audio.
How the operation of that particular checkpoint is to be conducted?
No, to my knowledge, no. Is there a citizenship there? If somebody traveling through there, say, some sort of checkpoint, they're U.S. citizens, they're free to go. If they're not U.S. citizens, they say they are not.
Agent Gomez, did you recognize that as your voice?
Yes, sir.
Were you asked the question if there were any policies, procedures, or written policies, procedures, or guidelines for that checkpoint?
Yes, sir.
Was your answer that you were not aware of any?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The Border Patrol agent was caught lying in court, and his expression said it all. He knew he was in big trouble, and this was just the start, as the attorney was ready to dig even deeper.
Have your testimony correct that when people pull up and you ask them if you're a U.S. citizen and whether they answer yes or no, then they're on their way?
Yes, sir.
So if someone pulls up and you say, are you a U.S. citizen, and they say no, they're on their way?
No, sir.
Well, which is it? You just said if they say yes or no, they're on their way. But then I asked the question a different way. If they said no and you said they're not on their way, which one is it?
Usually if somebody says no, they already have their immigration documents with them. They present that to me, and they're on their way.
You've got to admire how the attorney crafted his questions, making it tough for the corrupt Border Patrol agent. The clueless officer couldn't even stick to his story and was instantly outmatched.
I originally asked if you are unable to determine citizenship at the primary checkpoint, that you usually try to get them to secondary.
Yes, sir.
I did not say always try to get them to secondary. Do you understand my question?
Yes, sir.
Usually means sometimes not, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
So is it fair to say that sometimes, if you are unable to determine citizenship at the primary checkpoint, that you let them go anyway?
No, sir.
I don't understand again. If someone comes up and you cannot determine citizenship, you say you usually try to get them to secondary. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Usually means not always. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Like, I usually wear a suit to court, but not always. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So there are some times that people come up and you are unable to determine citizenship, but you just let them go on their way. Is that correct?
No, sir.
Then what do you do with them?
I try to establish the citizenship there,
And suppose you can't.
and they go to secondary, sir.
So if you are unable to determine citizenship, they always go to secondary.
Yes, sir.
Not usually, but always now.
Yes, sir.
By now, the officer had been proven wrong twice in court. Finally, the attorney shifted focus to his client, and that is when he completely tore the officer apart, exposing his true nature for everyone to see.
Mr. Anderson was sent to secondary inspection because of the dog alert. Is that correct?
It was a combination of both immigration and the canine alert, sir.
Okay. So you're saying part of the reason he was sent to secondary was immigration, not the
Yes.
dog alert?
Yes, sir.
But wasn't the decision made to send him to secondary, wasn't that decision made before he ever got to you?
Yes, sir.
And the decision was made, or you got the signal from Agent Spoonamore,
Correct.
before any immigration question was asked.
Correct.
And Agent Spoonamore gave you that signal because his dog alerted.
Correct.
So the dog decided to send him to secondary.
Correct.
How does the dog determine immigration status?
The canine does not determine citizenship, sir.
So he wasn't sent to secondary for immigration. He was sent to secondary because the dog alerted.
Mr. Anderson never answered my immigration question.
But the decision that he was going to secondary had already been made, correct?
Correct.
He could have pulled up to that primary checkpoint with a passport in his hand. And he was still going to secondary. Is that correct?
Correct.
The attorney brilliantly exposed the Border Patrol agent and his deep-seated disdain for citizens. Shortly after, he made another powerful point, leaving the agent utterly speechless.
Is there any better documentation of U.S. citizenship than a U.S. passport?
No, sir.
So it didn't matter what he said, he was going to secondary.
Yes, sir.
Because the dog said so.
Because the canine alerted to his vehicle, sir.
Is a canine trained to alert to people here illegally?
No, sir.
So the dog wasn't alerting for immigration.
In the end, the lawyer proved the stop was illegal and the Border Patrol agent could do nothing but accept his mistake and pay a hefty fine. This officer was owned pretty badly, but this next cop was given the ultimate sentence for the hideous crime he committed.
The court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months.
Derek Chauvin was caught and charged for the tragic death of George Floyd on May 25, 2020, an event that sparked worldwide protest and the famous BLM movement. Deserved a thorough and detailed court process, which, well, went through until the judge reached his sentence.
I wanted to thank everybody for being here and for providing the input you did. Not just the people who were in the courtroom here, but also those who provided written statements, both from the Floyd family and the defendant's family. I've read all the impact statements that were submitted earlier and listened carefully to all the input here today, and it is truly appreciated that you took the time to stay with this case and to provide me with input. I have reviewed the pre-sentence investigation and carefully considered all the facts of the case and the law. But my comments are actually going to be very brief. Most of it's going to be in writing. I have a 22-page memorandum that is going to be attached to the sentencing order. And why am I doing it in writing? To emphasize the fact that determining the appropriate sentence in any case, and in this case, is a legal analysis. It's applying the rule of law to the facts of an individual and specific case. And that is why, as opposed to trying to being profound here on the record, I prefer that you read the legal analysis that explains how I determined the sentence in this case.
Despite the immense pressure mounted on the jury, the judge made sure to tell everyone that the sentence was not based on emotions and law was followed throughout the proceeding.
What the case is, or what the sentence is not based on, is emotion or sympathy. But at the same time, I want to acknowledge the deep and tremendous pain that all the families are feeling, especially the Floyd family. You have our sympathies. And I acknowledge and hear the pain that you are feeling. I acknowledge the pain not only of those in this courtroom, but the Floyd family who are outside this courtroom and other members of the community. It has been painful throughout Hennepin County, throughout the state of Minnesota, and even the country. But most importantly, we need to recognize the pain of the Floyd family. I'm not going to attempt to be profound or clever, because it's not the appropriate time. I'm not basing my sentence also on public opinion. I'm not basing it on any attempt to send any messages. A trial court judge, the job of a trial court judge is to apply the law to specific facts and to deal with individual cases.
Finally, after giving a short speech, the judge announced the sentence for the former Minneapolis police officer.
Mr. Chauvin, as to count one, based on the verdict of the jury, finding you guilty of unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony under Minnesota Statute 609.19 subdivision 2 paren 1, it is the judgment of the court that you now stand convicted of that offense. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute section 609.04, counts 2 and 3 will remain unadjudicated as they are lesser offenses of count 1. As sentence for count 1, the court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months. That's 270. That is 10-year addition to the presumptive sentence of 150 months. This is based on your abuse of a position of trust and authority, and also the particular cruelty shown to George Floyd. You are granted credit for 199 days already served. Pay the mandatory surcharge of $78 to be paid from prison wages. You're prohibited from possessing firearms, ammunition, or explosives for the remainder of your life. Provide a DNA sample as required by law. Register as a predatory offender as required by law. And then you will receive a copy of the order and also the attached memorandum explaining the court's analysis.
If this needs to be said, we just ask that it be executed forthwith.
Defendant is remanded to the custody of the sheriff to be transported back to the DOC or whichever custody is currently holding him. Anything for the defense? No, Your Honor. All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Chauvin was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison and was later sent to the Oaks Park Heights prison. However, this isn't the last time a cop was sentenced in court, as this time the judge decided to unload on the officer.
Despite your efforts at the time to appear emotional and sad and distraught, it's clear to me that you're a remorseless killer.
Former Idaho police officer Daniel Howard was arrested in 2023 for connections to the murder of his wife that occurred in 2021. The officer pled not guilty, and as the case proceeded to trial, it did not take long for the jury to reach a verdict.
Is the defendant Daniel C. Howard guilty or not guilty of domestic battery? Guilty. Count 2. Is the defendant Daniel C. Howard guilty or not guilty of murder in the first degree? Not guilty. Is the defendant Daniel Howard guilty or not guilty of second-degree murder? Guilty.
Counsel, I'm proposing a sentencing date of May 23rd at 1:30 p.m. That's available. I will order a PSI or a pre-sentence investigation. Mr. Howard, I'll have you talk with your attorney about that. You have the right to participate or not participate in that. You continue to have the right to remain silent. All right, Mr. Howard is remanded into custody. I'll see everyone back May 23rd at 1:30 for sentencing. Thank you. We will be in recess.
Howard was found guilty of domestic battery and second-degree murder. As if the case wasn't brutal enough, the judge was deeply disturbed by the cop's complete lack of remorse over 2 years, as he continued to insist on his innocence throughout the trial.
I struggle with guilt, and I struggle with not knowing. I wish I could have convinced her to stay with me instead of going home that night. The fear on her face and in her voice when she told me about how she woke up with him standing over her will never leave me. Nothing will fill the hole he has created. Nothing can fix or undo what he has done. But her name can be free. The thought that he can no longer have control over her name, her memory, and her spirit gives me a sense of peace.
I'm not that monster, I assure you, that people portrayed me to be.
Despite Howard's claims that he was not involved in the murder, the judge decided against it and announced his sentence. However, before doing that, he had some important words for the dangerous creep.
But what we know, beyond a reasonable doubt, is that you strangled your wife, you murdered her, and then you staged her naked body in the bathtub, shot her through the mouth, and tried to pass this off as a suicide. That's proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And, you know, often in horrible crimes like this, everybody wants to know why. And often we don't know why. And I can't get inside your brain, but the pretty clear evidence, I agree with the state, is that this was due to, you know, jealousy, greed, pride, anger, revenge, some combination of that. And because of that, you killed your wife. And you killed her in a brutal manner.
Howard not only committed the murder, but staged it to look like a It is chilling how someone could be so cruel and completely out of line. Hard to believe this guy was ever a police officer.
You didn't just, when you killed Kendi, you didn't just kill your wife. You killed a mother, you killed a grandmother, you killed a sister, you killed a daughter, you killed a coworker, you killed somebody who brought a lot of life and light to those around her and those she touched. And you snuffed that out because of your own pride, greed, and anger. Despite your efforts at the time to appear emotional and sad and distraught, it's clear to me that you're a remorseless killer. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that lightly at all because we don't like to think that anybody would be like that. The remorse, the lack of remorse, the lack of caring, and just the callous disregard that you had for Kendi and how her death affected those around her. And that you had these same thoughts. You were talking about allowing people to live through your own self-control and restraint, understanding why people would kill their, quote, old ladies and go to prison. And so you're 58 years old. I don't see a lot of rehabilitation, sadly, in your future. Maybe, perhaps, but that's not a significant mitigating factor in sentencing you.
Howard appeared calm throughout the trial and even during the sentencing as he listened to the judge's plea with a straight face, as if he didn't care what was about to happen to him.
The public needs to know that there is a severe punishment for murder of your wife, and there's no sort of mitigation because the marriage is on the rocks or the wife was unfaithful or things like that. There's absolutely no justification here for murdering your wife, and I think it's important that the sentence sends that message as well. But what I know beyond a reasonable doubt is that you asphyxiated your wife, you murdered her, you staged her body to be found as if it were suicide. It's an outrageously egregious murder. And of course, all murder is, but this is particularly heinous in my view, having sat through the trial and seen all the evidence.
As you can see, the judge had no sympathy for the former cop, and his feelings were reflected in the sentence that he had passed down.
The gravity of the offense standing alone is sufficient to justify a fixed life sentence, and that is what I'm going to impose here. I think Kendi's family deserves to have that closure. The crime is so egregious that I don't think you should be released at any point in the future. And I don't impose that lightly. I have thought long and hard about this, considered all the evidence, considered aggravation and mitigation. There's just so little mitigation here. There's just really none. And so I do find that a fixed life sentence is appropriate for the count of murder in the second degree. On the domestic violence charge, I'll impose 10-year sentence and run it concurrent. I didn't even speak about that. I mean, really, I'm not, I don't mean to give that charge short shrift. The jury found that you were violent and abusive to your wife as well.
The judge delivered a brief speech and then announced the punishment for the tyrant. Moving on, watch how this cop exposed his entire police department in this single interrogation.
Going on with you and writing certain warnings and how many, and just kind of let us know.
6 to 8 months ago, I went to a roller paper style instead of a style putting inside of the inside of the printer. I went to a roller style. When we first had those roller paper, it was kind of at the troop headquarters. It was we were kind of short on paper. So I was speaking to another trooper, and he advised me, man, a lot of times I don't give out paper to people for warning. I just give them paper for citations. So at that time, I took that method up as well, started doing that. And at the same time, when I took that method up, I became lazy and stuff like that, and not explaining to people that I have given them a warning.
The trooper thought he would get away with writing unlawful tickets like he used to, but he had no clue he had messed up with the wrong person. Keep watching. Detective completely owns him.
If you never asked for the registration, they didn't give it to you, what was your reason for even printing it?
I don't have a reason. I guess because when I was sitting there, I was like, well, I don't have the registration card. I click on it and give me the registration card and just get a warning out of it. But other than that, I don't really have a reason to. Because majority of the time, I asked them for the registration card, and if I didn't get it, I go back and write a warning. But I won't give them a copy and explain to them that I gave them a warning.
It turns out the deputies have quotas to fill and would unlawfully write tickets without any fear. However, today, this tyrant was about to be exposed.
So every day you would generate a warning regardless of whatever they had or didn't have?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Just about every day, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Like every stop I had, if I could stop them for speeding, I'd click if they didn't give me the registration card, I'd click. There was a lot of times I did ask. I don't have an exact number, but I call myself go back and watch some of my videos after all this came out. But some of them, a lot of them, I did ask for registration card, and they didn't provide it to me. And whenever they didn't provide it to me, I go back and I click for your display registration card. And but like I said, my mistake. I didn't explain to them that I gave them a warning for that.
The detective was taking him down and finally asking a direct question, which immediately exposed the corrupt practices inside the department.
So this became a habit of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you intentionally doing this to pad your reports? To create more numbers?
I really won't know that. I think I just got reckless with it and just became a habit.
Explain that. What do you mean reckless with it?
Because I became lazy by not printing that paper off and taking the time out to explain to them, hey, ma'am, I gave you a warning for this, or I gave you a warning for that. I just give them a citation and go on by my day.
But you didn't have to provide that warning in every one of those situations, did you?
No, ma'am, and there were times I didn't.
Was there a need to even provide it, every one of those situations?
No, ma'am.
The worst part, the deputy still believes he did nothing wrong, showing just how deeply corruption is embedded in the department. This level of misconduct has gone unchecked for far too long.
What made you do it for some and not others?
I don't have a reason.
You didn't request their registration, so why would you think they would have a problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you think that was a problem?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
On whose part? Yours or theirs?
On my part.
Nothing. Because you had a high number of warnings as well. Is that something that you do? Provide a lot of warnings for speeding?
Yes, ma'am. I usually try to keep mine half and half on speeding on the contacts and also on warnings. But my warnings usually be failure to display registration or unsafe vehicle.
Okay.
This clown in the costume should no longer be a cop, and you will be stunned to hear what he has to say next.
Do you feel like you was falsifying information?
Yes, ma'am. After it belonged to me, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you think you violated policy?
Yes, ma'am.
You do? Which one?
The reports inaccurate and stuff like that.
Okay. What about any citations? Did you ever falsify any citations?
No, never any of those.
And do you know if anyone else is doing anything like this?
I don't know anyone else that's doing the same thing, want to advise them or stuff like that, but I do know that, I was, that.
Well, one thing that I'm trying to find out is were you doing this to increase your numbers of contact, or was it that they did have this violation?
Yes, ma'am. Well, and let me explain on that right there. Every time I did it, like if I asked for it, I didn't get it, I would do it. But there was some times that I didn't even ask for it.
Right.
And I went back and I got back to my car, and it was my fault again. I was back there at the car, And I don't have it back there, so I don't have the registration card, and I just click, just get the contact.
The detectives opted for a short break and returned to ask some even more hard-hitting questions, to which the corrupt cop really had no answer, but only more weak excuses.
Were there ever times that you were thinking that if I don't ask, then I have a contact, but if I ask, they may provide it and have it signed, and I won't be able to get a contact off of that one?
I never had that thought, because it was just a warning to me. We don't even get evaluated well if we have a bunch of warnings and a less amount of tickets. So I already know that. I try to always, if you go back and look at my record, I've always tried to keep my tickets kind of balanced with my warning, because a lot of times you get frowned upon if you got 140 warnings and 30 tickets. Okay. So I try to keep it. It won't never.
Okay.
So I try to keep it a little. Keep my stuff balanced. Just by getting that, I ain't gonna ask them for just get a contact. I already knew a warning ain't gonna really help me out too much, because they look at that. Well, you got 140 warnings, you got 30 tickets. I'm not gonna gain anything from me anyway.
It is truly sad to see the condition of this police department, and this is the reason why cops are hated all over the country. Desperate to save himself, Deputy Cross started throwing his entire department under the bus.
Every department, every troop I work for, they always look at, you got 130 warnings, you only got 35 tickets. They ain't gonna do it. Because I would try to keep it kind of balanced.
Did you think it was a problem even before this was brought to your attention?
To be honest with you, ma'am, I really didn't. I didn't think nothing about it. But I look back at it, yeah. If I got a warning, I want somebody to tell me, hey, I gave you a warning for not signing your registration card back. And there sometimes I did, tell them, hey, you need to sign this back. But majority of the time I didn't. And if I got that warning, I want somebody to tell me that, hey, man, sign the back of this, or you got a license plate out at the back. Make sure you put a bub back there.
Okay, so you're not making a grade or anything like that. Got it.
The guy that trained me, he averaged 2.0 average. I averaged about a 1.2, 1.3, but when he trained me to look for everything. Just to get more contact, stuff like that. It was just, if you're out here working, you might well go, if you're out here working, so.
Deputy Cross's nervous demeanor indicated that he had made quite a mess. The interrogation didn't just expose him, but revealed deep corruption within the entire department.
This is nothing new, nothing created. No one trying to pad your reports, trying to get more numbers. Are your numbers higher than most people?
No, ma'am, they're not. Drunks are.
Yeah.
But I think last month, even with this investigation started, I had a 1.1 average. I had 29 speeding tickets and 5 other arrests. So I had 35 arrests and only 120 warnings. So I know that won't give me a good rating. I know that. So I don't.
So what would be a good month for you?
A good month for me, I've been going through something here lately. I usually write 80 hard, and I turn around and maybe write another 150 warnings. Okay. So I end up that's 230 or something like that. I end up with like a 1.4. I used to run about a 1.4, 1.5 every month. And I guess there's always been that 1.0 average in my head. I was always told you gotta get 8 a day,
Right.
But
after the investigation, Deputy Cross was found guilty of tampering with evidence and writing false tickets. As a result, he was suspended for 10 days and barred from promotion for a year. Now, while this cop was exposed for corruption, this next one made the biggest mistake of his life, and the courtroom delivered his fate.
The thin blue line really is just the line.
On January 18, 2019, Officer Sanchez from the Newark Police Department pulled over Gregory Griffin for speeding. Little did she know this simple traffic stop would turn into something bizarre.
Turn off the car.
What?
Turn off the car.
What?
Sir, turn off the vehicle. Turn off the vehicle, sir. Turn it off. Turn off the car and roll down the window. Open the door. Give me that other unit. Open the window. Open the door.
What's up?
I got a 646. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Hands. Hands on the wheel. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands.
The officer was aggressive, and as she demanded ID from Griffin, he ended up doing something silly.
Hands on the wheel. The car's off. Be advised, the vehicle took off. Thomas in Pennsylvania. Zulu 21 Kilo uniform.
Rookie officer Giovanni Crespo directly fired at the car without taking any precautionary measures. Fortunately, none of the bullets hit Griffin, triggering a chaotic chase. Chase continued for a few miles and the officers could not control the overspeeding Griffin. Then Crespo got close to the car and did something shocking, an action that would change his life forever.
It should be under his leg.
Does anybody fires a weapon here?
No, here, not here.
Delta 91, go.
This time, one of Crespo's bullets struck Griffin in the head, killing him on the spot. To make matters worse, another bullet hit the passenger, leaving them severely injured.
599, you're chasing? Did you shoot?
No, I didn't shoot. Who shot?
Who shot?
Crespo shot. Crespo shot. No, they shot. Crespo shot, and they're gone. Who's dead? No, he just pulled off on me. Pennsylvania and Thomas is where I pulled him over. No.
Was that a motor vehicle stop or was that a foot chase?
No, motor vehicle stop. I pulled him over.
Okay, who you with?
By myself.
Okay.
Even the fellow cops could not believe what Crespo had just done. There was no need to fire your gun, and it was later revealed that the officer ended up firing 8 shots in 3 intervals.
Cars going down Pennsylvania. It was going way too fast. So
you pulled it over as a 521?
Pulled it over as a traffic stop.
Okay.
Just as a traffic stop. Just because he was going too fast.
Okay.
I got behind him on Pennsylvania and Thomas at the red light. I was waiting for the light to turn green. I thought he was going to pull over right on Pennsylvania. He kept going down Thomas, right on that little curb on Thomas. Pulled over right in front of the church. I got out, told him to turn off the car. He keeps telling me, why do I need to turn off the car? So I'm like, turn off the car, turn off the car. I go over 646, I got a man with a gun. The Delta unit puts up Moss and his partner. So I tell him he's got a gun, so they're like, Val, get him out. I go to open the door doesn't open, so I go in to open it from the inside, and he takes off.
Okay. Where's your car?
503, I was driving 503.
All right, let's see your car.
This led to an internal investigation, and Crespo was charged with aggravated manslaughter, aggravated assault, and official misconduct. Eventually, the case went to trial, and this is what Crespo's mother had to say to the judge before he announced his sentence.
And I got to Giovanni, I made a promise to his mom that Giovanni was going to be the best that he could be. And she wanted me to raise him the right way, and I did my best.
I would just like to apologize for the event that occurred, to the victims, to my family that I put through, everybody that's been going through hard times because of this. I took a chance at a job where it's life or death every day. And the thin blue line really is just the line.
Thanks for watching. Please support the channel by subscribing and leaving a like. Also, if you enjoyed this video, check out the next video here.
Defendant is guilty of the crime of forcible and punishment is set at 16 years.